25 episodes. That's how much we just got of My Hero Academia Season 6. How much is it completely in the entirety of My Hero Academia? 138 episodes. Unless you count the OVAs, then I guess there's more episodes. But with this last season, a lot of people kind of have different opinions. There's some people who have pretty much stopped watching for some reason, which I don't think that this show is anywhere close to being bad for you to just stop watching entirely, but I don't know, people are the way they are. And there's other people that are on the opposite end of that spectrum where they're like, this is the best season that has ever come out. What are you guys doing? This is the best thing ever. Me, I'm on neither of those sides. I think what this season did was bring My Hero Academia back to where it was. After the overhaul arc in My Hero Academia Season 4, we got that arc which basically had them singing and dancing and doing that school festival. And most people that I talk to that say they don't watch My Hero Academia anymore, or they come up to me and say, hey, how is My Hero Academia? And I ask them, why do you not watch it? They say that it fell off for them in that arc, that they just stopped watching after that arc because that arc was pretty boring to them. And to that I say, yeah, it's my least favorite arc. I think it's everybody's least favorite arc. Sometimes I say, you know what, honestly, you can just skip that arc if you want to. I wouldn't recommend skipping it because you should have the full story, but I think everyone can agree that is probably the least best arc of this anime. And then once we got after that arc, we got into Season 5, and that's where a lot of people were actually complaining about the show. They were saying that it was a very boring arc, and then they just couldn't wait for My Villain Academia to start because when the story with the villains had more action. And then honestly, my personal opinion, Season 5 really, honestly, was my least favorite season of this show. It still is. It still is my least favorite season. When it came to the villains, I enjoyed it, but I gotta say, I care more about the heroes and the main characters of the students than I do for all of those villains. I gotta be honest with you. So that became the first season that I wasn't urgently watching every single week. I was just, I waited a while until I felt like watching those last episodes of My Hero Academia. And I know a lot of people say that's crazy, but even Horikoshi himself said that he planned on making that even longer, but shortened that story with the villains because people were tuning in less to the manga. So I felt that when it came to the anime as well. My personal favorite arc is My Hero Academia Season 3 and Season 2. To me, that's where that show was kind of at its prime, and I think Season 6 has brought it to the same quality that had. That's why I will not say this is the best season of the show. I think it's on par with Season 3, and I just don't see it as better than that. You can disagree with me, and that's fine. I understand every time I say something somebody disagrees with, people go crazy. But I think this season was a pretty solid season. It had 2 arcs in it, and I enjoyed both those arcs, especially the first arc of this season. It kind of just showed us how it started off a bit slow in the last season, but this season was starting off real quick into that action, real quick into the meat of this story, and it was a pretty good season. And when it comes to the second arc of this season, I honestly believe that the story was actually kind of rushed for me. And I know some people say this thing where they're like, they didn't rush it, they just adapted the manga. Yeah, I know that. It doesn't matter if it's the same story from the manga. I'm still saying it feels like a rushed story. It felt like we got glimpses of Deku's time as a vigilante, but we didn't actually get a full story of him as a vigilante. It feels like we just got the little bits and pieces that we needed for this story to happen, but it would be nice to actually explore what exactly was going on there. I honestly feel like this just showed to me Horikoshi is really trying to end this story and had ideas for certain arcs in mind, and is just kind of saying, well, we need this for this story, we need this for this story, okay, now let's move on to the next arc so that we can keep this going. That's what I think about that basically vigilante arc. I enjoyed it. I just think it was a bit little for what we could have gotten for that arc. With that said, it isn't getting better, in my opinion. It just got as good as it was supposed to be back then. So I think it fell off during season 4, like the halfway through season 4 and in season 5, it turned lesser of an anime. And then in season 6, it just went back to being as good as it was. And I think a lot of people, because of that, are saying this is the greatest season ever. But I think this is just as good as season 3, which was actually pretty well. So my issue with this is like, are we gonna just not get even better of a show, or is this quality gonna stay the same? If the quality stays the same throughout the whole show, it's still a good show, but I would like it to get better. That doesn't mean I'm saying it's bad. If you have something good, you want it to get better either way. So I think that this quality is as good as it was when it was doing its best, but I want it to be better. Does that make sense? People are gonna go crazy like, this is not a bad show, how could you say it's a bad show? I didn't. I like this show. And honestly, I had one issue with this entire season, and it was the second to last episode 24. I made a whole video about it, and people were like, wow, you just don't understand anything. And then like didn't explain how I didn't understand anything. They just said Deku needed to rest. I know he needed to rest, but they gave no good argument to those people that he needed to rest. Your Uraraka gave a terrible speech. I'm sorry. The writing for Uraraka wasn't good. It wasn't good. I understand some people are like, oh, that's a powerful moment. It's only powerful because she's being really emotional. If she wasn't emotional, it wouldn't be powerful. So if you're gonna give a character emotion, give her good lines and good convincing dialogue for the rest of the characters that are there in the opposing view to come onto her side. I understand in this episode, which I'm glad they said this, they said not everybody is on their side. But in that episode, it pretty much seemed like everyone was like, okay, you know, she's crying and everything, let's just give up on all our points of view and just go along with whatever's happening. Which I didn't understand. And people were like, Deku needed rest, what did you want him to do? That's not what I'm talking about. Who cares? He needed rest, alright? But was that convincing to the other characters? If you're gonna have an angry mob, you have to have convincing writing on why you're getting rid of that angry mob. But there wasn't convincing writing. I'm sorry. So one episode I wasn't feeling that episode. I kind of had to shut down my brain for that episode. But overall, this season, pretty good season. I'd give it, honestly, an 7.5 out of 10. And that is my review. Thank you. I love you guys. Talk to you in the next video. Bye-bye.
And I can say that I'm great, yeah, I can say that I'm perfect. I ain't the one that was out here saving lives, I was purchased. Now we about to take you out if you try to act toxic. I'ma send you straight up to my main man, Kanjin.